welcome back. We are here for yet another episode. We took a week off for Thanksgiving break, and we are back here, I believe, with episode maybe 14 of Speak of the Devils. I'm Sam St. Jean here with Dom Fusco and Sam Glevin on a wonderful exam week here for us Dickinson students. But how are you guys holding up this week?
Brutal out here. It's brutal out here. No, but it's going all right. I mean, I got my schedule is all blocked out, and I have just another paper to do, and then just an exam, and then I'm all home free.
Yeah, just once this is over, once we record this, finish up a take-home final, submit a paper, take a final tomorrow, and then I'm done. So home stretch here.
Yep. That's what it's all about.
I mean, our layout today, it's going to be nice and simple. First segment, it's kind of something we thought we were going to talk about last week, but we'll talk about this week. It's our predictions for who's going to be the first four teams to make the college football playoffs and the first two that are going to get cut from and miss this season. We're going to go into an interview with the faculty and kind of talk about exam week for them. And we'll get to this to you the week after so you can kind of reflect on what it's like to be a professor in this kind of situation. And he's going to be Professor Mastrangelo from the classics department. And our final one is going to be top 5 things to look forward to about going home for the holidays on a normal year. Obviously, we don't go home this year, but just on a normal year, what it'd be like to and what we're going to look forward to. But we can jump in onto the first 4 segment, and we'll talk about college football playoffs and who our first 4 teams in, 2 first that get cut. I guess we'll start. Do you want to start with the first 4 that make it, or the 2 that get cut?
We'll go with the first 4 that are in. I think we'll start with that way. So as the self-proclaimed college football guru of this podcast, I will begin. And to probably none of your surprises, I'm going with the current top 4 teams right now, just because they're so far above and beyond all of the other teams, even in the playoff hunt right now. So that would be Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Ohio State. And I don't really see either of them losing again. So I'm going to keep my same order in terms of, what they're going to go. I think Alabama will be number 1, Notre Dame 2, Clemson 3, Ohio State 4. Ohio State obviously only having played 4 games, but looking absolutely dominant in each one. Clemson, a little shaky, and they lost to Notre Dame. Granted, Trevor Lawrence was out. Their backup is DJ Wagalele, who is I've been following him for a couple of years. He's a stud. So he got it done for them for the most part. Obviously, they lost to Notre Dame, which was unfortunate. And Alabama, despite losing their top receiver, is just killing everybody they play. And the tide is rolling, and it's going to be interesting to see if anybody can stop them, because this is one of the best Alabama teams I have seen. And there have been some very good Alabama teams in recent years.
How about you, Sam?
So I have the same 4, just because they're the 4 teams that are just so miles above everybody else right now. I have it in a slightly different order though. At number 4 I have Ohio State. Number 3 I have Notre Dame. Number 2 I have Clemson, and number 1 I have Alabama. I flipped Clemson and Notre Dame from the ESPN ranking, just because I don't think Clemson is going to lose to Notre Dame for a second time. I think that they're gonna even up that series, and then whatever the next, I guess it's points scored or points allowed or something like that to get them up in the ranking. I think they'll pull that off. And then Alabama number 1, obviously, just because they're crushing everybody right now. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, no, I'm more or less in the same boat. I have the same 4, but I have Notre Dame at 4 because I believe that they're going to get in because they beat Clemson, but they're going to lose to them in the second time. And I think that's something that Sam already said. Mm-hmm. So, I see them kind of hanging on, because a lot of the times when I'm looking at like who I think should make it, it's a lot from like the look test, like what team impresses me the most. And I know that's like what they openly said they're going to use a lot this year. It's just watching games and watching film and seeing what they're like, just judging them with the eye test. So that's why I have Ohio State now at 3. And I believe personally that they're the second best team in the country, but they're not going to have enough games by the end of the season. So I don't think they're going to get that 2 spot. And I actually am a big fan of Fields. As much as I hate to admit that Ohio State is good to Austin Seabolt's happiness, I have to admit that I believe they might even be number 1 by the end of the season when you really look at them. Then my number 2 is Clemson. Again, they're a 1-loss team, so they're not going to get number 1, but they will beat Notre Dame in that second time in the ACC championship. So I do see them stepping up there, but I do not see them surpassing Alabama. And I really don't think I need to say anything about Alabama. I think it's pretty straightforward. The only way they lose is if Nick Saban's out another game and they have a tough opponent who catches them off guard. But that's pretty much it. The only way I see them losing in the regular season.
Yeah. So going to the first two out, Alabama's only got one game left, and it's against, it's against LSU and a pretty weak LSU team this year. So, I don't see Alabama losing that game. And so my first two out are going to be number one, Florida, because they've had a pretty strong season and they finish up the game. They've got Tennessee away and then they've got LSU at home. And I don't really see them losing either one of those games. They've been playing really well the past couple games. They put a hurt on Kentucky last week, and they put a hurting on Vanderbilt the week before. They've been on a roll since losing early in the season to Texas A&M. And so I see Florida as, that 5 or 6 spot going into it. And then my second team out, I'm actually going to go with Cincinnati, 8-0 Cincinnati. And I don't think there's any way, even if they go undefeated, which they play a ranked Tulsa team this weekend, but even if they beat them, finish 9-0, there's no way that they're going to sneak into the playoffs over any of those other 4 teams that we mentioned before. And Texas A&M is actually number 5 right now, and they're the first ones out. But they have 2 away games. They play they play at Auburn this weekend, and then they play at Tennessee the next weekend. So two road games against 2 pretty good home teams. So I see Texas A&M losing one of those games and falling out of that. And then I see Cincinnati and Florida closing out the season strong. So those would be my first 2 out. Will be Florida, Cincinnati.
Yeah, I also have Florida. I think that they've been playing some great football. I love their quarterback Trask. I mean, I think he's been breaking some of Tim Tebow's records, and I've always been a big Tim Tebow guy. So I've loved everything I've seen out of Florida so far, but they definitely don't make the cut. They don't stand a chance, I don't think, against Bama, Clemson, and Notre Dame, Ohio State, any of their schedules. I mean, and then I also have Texas A&M as the second guy out for number 6, I believe.
All right, so at number 5, I have Michigan. No, I'm just kidding. So I have Florida at 5. And part of me actually believes that Cincinnati is going to get that 5 spot just because they're going to finish undefeated. But I think Florida's a better team. But if I see Cincinnati take 5 instead of Florida, I would not be surprised, and just because of that undefeated record. And I actually agree, Dom. I think they're going to lose this weekend, Texas A&M. And I think they're going to lose to Auburn. But and then I have my Florida currently at 5. And mine's mainly just because I've been so impressed with Trask at QB this year. He's been lights out and is currently still one of the Heisman front runners alongside Mac Jones from Alabama and that guy from Clemson who I just don't like so far because I know he's going to end up on a team that I'm not a fan of in the NFL. So in Trevor Lawrence. So I mean, I feel like this year oddly ended up predictable, despite being as wild and weird as it has been.
I mean, you have your usual suspects in there for ever since the college football playoff has been in existence. Alabama, Clemson, and I guess even Ohio State at this point. I guess the only real wild card in there is Notre Dame. Nobody really knew how well they were going to, or how good they were going to be this year. My biggest thing with Notre Dame is that their defense has been phenomenal. I watched the game over the weekend, and they look really good. I think their quarterback Bo Nix, is that right?
I can't remember off the top of my head. You might be right.
Yeah, I think it's just a fantastic quarterback name, by the way. I love that name. It's another college football playoff with Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State, and then one other guy that they throw in there. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's been fun to watch college football. I'm glad we got it back this year and we didn't have to go, a full season without it. But I really would like to see Florida make it. It'd be nice to see the Gators back in a championship contention. I was a Tim Tebow supporter back in the day, so it would be good to see, Florida make a little run at it. But at the end of the day, I don't see those top 4 teams changing, especially if Notre Dame wins out until a loss to Clemson. But if Clemson does lose the second game to Notre Dame, that would shake it up quite a bit.
True.
This has just been such a weird year. If you look at the current top 25, when are you really ever going to see Cincinnati and Iowa State in the top 10?
True.
When are you going to see Indiana in the top 15? Northwestern is usually pretty garbage. And then you see teams like Coastal Carolina, Marshall, Tulsa, and Louisiana Lafayette also in the top 5. And then you're not seeing teams such as Penn State, Michigan, Minnesota, 3 big ones in the Big Ten, and then LSU having a down year. Tennessee fell out of the top 25. USC's 20, so their season's been weird as well. They've only played a few games, but it's just been really weird. And some teams have emerged that you wouldn't think, and then you've seen some teams like Penn State who haven't won a game yet, and it's pretty crazy. It's been a crazy year in college football.
No, absolutely. But I mean, I guess we got a few more weeks to look forward to a college football before those playoffs, but we'll jump into our interview next with Professor Mastrangelo.
Welcome back. But first, we have a quick ad read from the Grazery. Healthy, not boring. That's not just the motto of the Grazery, but it is also their promise to you. Visit Grazery today and indulge on fresh Mediterranean-inspired salads, sandwiches, and soups, among other great options on a menu that serves both breakfast and lunch. Eat in or take out. No reservation needed here. So hurry on down to 156 West High Street, just yards away from the campus, and enjoy a fresh and feel healthy meal today.
All right. Thank you, Sam. And we are back for our second segment. We're going to do an interview with Professor Mastrangelo from the Classics Department. And I think the first question we're going to have to jump into, and this is something I know he wants us to, get into, is what are classics?
Yeah, usually when people, well, first of all, thank you for having me, Sammy, and guys. It's really great to be here. First, classics, when I get asked, what do you do? Well, I teach classics, and they say, what is that, Beethoven? And I say, no, it's not Beethoven. No, that's classical music. Classics are the study of ancient Greece and Rome from about the 12th century BC, 13th century BC, all the way through to the 5th century, 6th century AD. So it covers Roman civilization and ancient Greek civilization and all the literature and archaeology and philosophy and history of all that and language. So that's what we do. And it is one of the funnest departments around. Right, Sammy?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be a classics major if it wasn't.
That's I think it's great. It's also easy to double major. Okay, Sam and Dom, it's easy to double major in classics. So, just come on over and see me at some point. We're going to be back on campus a bit. Well, at least I'm going to be back on campus. I'm teaching on campus this semester, the coming semester after this. So awesome. People have to come and talk to me. Anyway, that's where we are with classics, and we have a great department with lots of majors and lots of activities. So there it is.
Next, how did you first how did you first become interested in classics? Was there a time when you were younger, something that sparked your interest, or basically how did you get into the field and the profession?
So I had a great, I took Latin in high school because my older brother took Latin, and I had a great teacher, and I thought I was okay at it, but I didn't really think much of it. But then I went to college, and my sophomore year, I took a Latin course, and I really did well at it, and I liked it. And I took another one, and then I met a girl who was in one of the classics classes, and she thought that I was smart. So I thought, wow, okay. And she was a classicist. So I thought, might as well continue this. So it was a combination of great teaching and social fun that kept me going in romance that kept me going in classics. But I had 2 great teachers in college, and I had no confidence. Like a lot of us when we're undergraduates academically, we don't have much confidence in about how smart we are, what we can do academically, what we can accomplish, how much to push ourselves. But I had 2 teachers who looked at me and said, you can really do this well if you apply yourself. And I started to my junior year. And by the time I was a senior, it's like, I love this so much. I want to do it. And I decided to do an advanced degree and it was sort of a dream come true. My teacher, my mentor and teacher was a graduate of Oxford, and he said, "Well, I think you should go to Oxford and do a degree." And I said, "Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. Thanks." And I applied because he pushed me to, and I got in, and it was my first plane ride in the air at 22, 23 years old. I went to London, got off the plane, showed up in Oxford from a bus, and it was just magical. So classics for me, the academic study of classics and ancient Greece and Rome is associated with so many wonderful moments as an undergraduate, and then going to travel in Europe and all that sort of thing, that it really just stuck with me. And I love doing research. So I love reading and writing and about this stuff. And I love teaching it because I think it's still relevant today in many, many ways. And, that's basically how, what got me going. It's great teachers, a girlfriend, and travel. I mean, what else do you need, right? So that was that. But we have a great program at Dickinson. We send people to do all sorts of things. Our majors go to law school. They go into public relations. They become doctors because they're double majors in pre-med. They are, as well, they become teachers, which is the typical thing people think about. But everybody does everything. If you're smart enough to do classics and get through it, you can do anything.
Awesome. So I'm going to shift it over to a little bit more of a broad question, kind of tie it into athletics a little bit. What would you say Dickinson professors in general and student athletes, what do you think that relationship is like, whether you have a personal anecdote about it or just kind of the feel of the department working with student athletes?
Yeah, so I played football in college. I played Division III football.
Great.
And so I was a student athlete. And the person who hired me in the department actually was an all-state Texas high school player who played in the Southwest Conference. And so we have a lot of actually decent athletes in the faculty ranks. I mean, you think we're all nerds and we can't do that sort of thing, but there are those of us who are pretty good and have athletic backgrounds in swimming. I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking about swimming, golf, baseball, all sorts of things. So when you're at a liberal arts college, it's very important that 25 to 30% of our students are athletes, are NCAA participating athletes, not to mention the clubs and the intramurals and all of that. So, the spirit of a liberal arts college is sound body, sound mind. So, there are faculty that just don't have any idea about athletics. But what we find is because of our faculty meetings and because of contact with athletes, most faculty are interested in athletes and trying to make sure that that they do well. So it's when I was a student athlete, if they knew you were an athlete, there was a prejudice, and I'm sure many athletes feel this today, I would imagine. But I think at Dickinson we try to do a pretty good job, and I know many faculty members who are interested in making sure, because they understand the schedules that athletes are on, right? That they're doing 30 to 40 hours a week extra besides what they're doing in class. And so there's close consultation a lot of times between coaches and faculty about either individual student athletes or what the whole team is up to and how things are going. I think that needs to increase. It always needs to get better. But I think coaches have been really good at reaching out to faculty, many coaches, to sort of to give the student athlete experience to faculty, just to sort of talk about that. And, I remember one of my classicists was an All-American in cross country, and she was just All-American twice, junior and senior year. This is years ago. And she was a brilliant student, but she was also this great athlete and also very humble. And she single-handedly, I think, across the humanities building, because she took all sorts of courses, people all faculty were just like, wow, athletes are cool, right? They can do everything, you know. But having athletes in class is great. You know, sometimes it can be interesting, like in my Greek Civ class, Introduction to Greek Civilization, I've got 35 in there, and I'll get a block of 8 to 10, you know, lacrosse players or football players or female soccer players or field hockey players. And I feel comfortable around athletes, so I can sort of have conversations, you know, sort of roast them a little bit, try to get them to participate when they won't, you know, that sort of thing. And I know they got tough skins, you know, because they're athletes and they're used to sort of, you know, being mentally tough. So you can sort of expect more of them in certain situations in class. So I think Dickinson and a liberal arts college like ours is ideal to be a student athlete. It's so great. But I feel bad because, I mean, I don't know, what are you guys hearing about, you know, athletes who are missing their seasons and stuff like that? Tell me about that. You know, what's the feeling there?
Yeah, so I'm a senior. I play football, and yeah, so I had my senior season obviously canceled this fall, which
that's awful.
Pretty heartbreaking, and definitely not what I expected when I came to Dickinson. I also tore my ACL my sophomore year, so
did I.
There you go. So you know how difficult that was. So just having 2 years, not taken away, but you know, 2 years. You thought you were going to play 4, ended up playing 2. So definitely still took so much away from the program, and I'm definitely still going to be a part of the program. You know, because that's Dickinson athletes, they stay involved, and you know, this place means a lot to us. So very disappointed and obviously heartbroken at losing this season, but just grateful for all the opportunity that it did bring. You know, all the early morning runs and lifts and camaraderie, and you know, bringing the program back from a pretty poor scene a couple years ago to, you know, getting it to where it is and where it's going. Been really proud of where we've come, all the progress we've made, but it really does stink to lose out on the senior season. And I know Sam last year lost his senior season, or not a senior season, sorry, sophomore season. Yeah. But you know, so just for their sake, I hope that they're able to play this spring athletes.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, last year when we were down in Florida, we got the call. They were like, yeah, you can finish out like your game. You can finish out your games in Florida. We had about 5 left. And then you guys have to come back, pack up and get going. So that sucked because nobody knew. I mean, we were down in Florida, kind of cut off from everybody else up north, and we didn't really know what was going on. So it was pretty shocking to our seniors that year. For the class of 20, it was heartbreaking. I mean, yeah, I mean, I just remember being on that field like the last game that we knew we would play together. I mean, it was awful. And then I was like, okay, so like that was my sophomore season, so now I'll just be able to play my junior and senior year. I thought for sure we were going to be fine by spring at least, and now it's not looking like that. So I think we find out sometime in December whether or not we'll have a season, because I think the college came out and said that they're gonna follow whatever the Centennial Conference says. So we will see on December 8th, I believe. Yeah, it's definitely for basketball. Not sure, like for winter sports. I'm not sure what they're gonna do for the spring sports like baseball and lacrosse, but
I was gonna say they've postponed that decision like 6 times now. Like they were supposed to decide like 3 months ago, and they're still.
It's so hard with the changing circumstances and everything. I mean, with the spike now, you know, it's another circumstance, and you're hoping that the spike will peak in the winter, and then by the time we get into March, maybe end of February, things will start. And hopefully that vaccine starts becoming available, and all, you know, we just don't know what the circumstances are. That's why these decisions are so hard to make. One of the things that happened to me when I was a sophomore, I was starting at, believe it or not, I was left tackle on the offensive line, and I got, after the first game, I got just destroyed and blew out my knee, MCL, ACL. And I was never the same again in many ways. Because in those days, right, we're talking 1982. I was in Boston at the Mass General. I had Joe Namath's and Bobby Orr's doctor operating on me, right? I had the best that there was possibly could be. And still, I just never came back the same. I came back after a year, and I never started again after that. But what happened to me in that year is that I wasn't playing, that first of all, I was depressed for the first 3 or 4 weeks after surgery. I was just totally depressed and didn't go to class. And in those days, if you didn't go to class 4 or 5 weeks, nobody even checked on you. So I showed up. I'll tell you a good story about this. I show up to my Latin class, and my teacher was an old Oxfordian professor, and he was like, 6'3", very sort of formal looking, with the round glasses and the tweed coat, like you would think. And I walk into class in crutches and with my knee up, and he says, "Good God, Mark, what happened to you?" I said, "I blew out my knee playing football." He said, "How many times have I told you, Mark, that exercise is bad for you?" I thought, oh my God. But anyway, what happened in that year and the year after that, and I think athletes have to make this sort of transition, is I found classics, and I found other things that I just threw myself into. As much as I threw myself into the weight room, into workouts, into hanging out with my friends and all that sort of stuff that was based on the team. And I know it's really difficult when life deals you a curve like this, throws you a curve. But at a certain point, you need to take advantage of it, and say, okay, what am I going to put a lot of my energy into? Not that you're going to stop putting your energy into sort of your athletic life in that sense, but really think about what the next passionate thing that you have that you're going to do. Because I know that I was just all about football and basketball all the way through high school into college. That was it for me. And I did well academically, but it wasn't my number one passion. But what happened to me when I got hurt and I was restricted, and then my ability wasn't as good as it used to be, it really started to take my focus in a direction. I still played on an undefeated team my senior year. It was great. And we were nationally ranked number 12, number 8, I forget what it was. But I only snapped for field goals, and punts. I wasn't on the field a lot, but I had great camaraderie. I was really great to be part of the situation. But I had developed this other really big interest that I was going for. And I think, again, as a liberal arts student athlete, you really need to sort of think on those terms and make that transition. So you've been dealt a bad hand. But on the other hand, hopefully you'll get lucky and get on the field or court or again. But on the other hand, it gives you time to sort of think about, well, what the hell else am I going to sort of put my energy into and my talents, and your athleticism got you to college and it gave you this opportunity at Dickinson, but as it did myself. But here it's an opportunity, right? There's so many things at Dickinson that you can sort of get yourself involved in that maybe you never even thought you would, trying stuff like that. So that, I know I'm trying to sort of put a silver lining into it, but that's from my real experience as somebody who really, it was a shock when I got injured and I just didn't come back the way I thought I would,
And so we're getting short on time. So we're going to have to move on to our last segment. We're going to ask you one more question to help us transition a little bit. And we'll ask you, what is the top thing you look forward to about the holiday break on a normal year when you kind of get the break from classes? What is that number one thing you look forward to? Because that's what we're ranking. We're doing our top 5 favorite things to look forward to.
Well, I'm a Patriots fan, so I was usually looking forward to playoffs and Super Bowl, but things aren't going so well right now. Okay.
I can't say much else because I'm an Eagles fan. I know Dom is the same way. So.
Yeah, I'm also an Eagles fan.
So, I come from a family, we have 5 season tickets, and we were original season ticket holders. My father was an original season ticket holder at the New England Patriots. Well, they were the Boston Patriots then in 1960. And as a little boy from 1971, I would go to games with my dad. And the winter, he never saw, he died before the golden age of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick showed up, which was a shame. But those 20 years for me, because I was with the Patriots in the 70s and in the 80s when it was really awful. And I would go to the stadium. They would lose all the time. And we had to stay to the last minute because we were loyal, right? I was allowed to leave. So I looked forward to football playoffs and football Super Bowls. But now, what am I going to look forward to? I'm going to look forward to just being with my family and taking it easy after a difficult and weird semester, and hopefully having some good news about vaccines and what the spring holds and all that sort of thing. Because I'm really, you guys, it must be, I'm so sick and tired of this pandemic that I'm looking forward to being with my wife and my kids. And my boy he plays football as well up at Middlebury College, and he's back. So but he didn't get a season either this year. But I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward, what else am I looking forward to? Well, keeping myself under 15 pounds of weight gain over the holidays.
Probably the hardest one.
Good goal.
That's the hardest one. It is.
That's fine. Thank you, Professor, so much for coming on. It was a great conversation.
All right,
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. Anytime, just call. It'll be fun. Any topic, we can talk.
All right.
How are you guys
good.
doing your courses? How are you doing your courses? You're all right? What's going on?
Yeah, it's finals
Hanging
week.
in there. Hanging in there.
Hanging in there.
Yeah, I'll send you your exam tonight.
Oh, good. Finish strong, man. Finish strong.
Absolutely.
All right, Professor. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I'll
Professor.
see you.
Complex is something no coach or athlete wants to deal with, which is why every team aims to keep schemes and execution simple so success is easy to achieve. That's the game plan used by the Grazery right here in Carlisle. Simple ingredients that are fresh, healthy, and above all, delicious. Healthy, not boring food that is not just good, but good for you. Made from only the healthiest and simple ingredients. So come on in today and enjoy a great meal made simple at the Grazery, located at 156 West High Street in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Dude, these Grazery ads will be much more inspiring when we're all back on campus and can head down to the Grazery and other restaurants down there.
That's the first thing I'm doing when I get back there. I haven't even been to the Grazery. I got to get there.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been there a couple times, mostly freshman year actually, but they're very good every time. But thank you again to Professor Mastrangelo. He was fantastic. I feel like he answered questions we didn't even have to ask for him. He was banging everything out for us. It was fantastic.
Great.
I unplugged my mic by accident, so you're hearing from the computer audio real quick. But we're going to jump into our lists, and it's going to be the top 5 things to look about in the holiday season on a normal year, and I'll get us going. My number 5 is just about coming home and seeing your family. I mean, on a normal year, this might be a little higher for me, but since I've been with my family a little longer, we're going to leave that one at 5.
For me, I'm going with home cooked meals at number 5. I know it should probably be higher up on the list, but I got some haymakers coming in.
Yeah, mine would be number 5. Yeah, mine would also be home cooked meals, Sam. Just I love the calf, as we all know, as you all loyal listeners know. I love the calf, but there is nothing like some home cooked meals. So that's also my number 5.
So my 4 is just like our normal holiday traditions. A lot of time on Christmas Eve, we'll have kind of an open house, invite a bunch of people over and have a great time. And, sometimes we do themes. So last year we did a favorite sports team that doesn't exist. So that was a good one. So we do kind of fun stuff like that. And then Christmas Day, always have a good time. So that's my 4.
That's great. Number 4 for me is coming home and sitting in my tree stand, waiting for a nice buck to come through. That's usually I can't really go out while I'm at school. So when I come home, it's one of the first things I do in the morning. It's awesome.
4 would be coming home to see my friends from home that I don't usually get to see at all throughout the fall semester, just playing football and not being able to come home. And I never had a car on campus when I was there. So it was tough for me to get home. So just coming back and seeing, especially, some of my friends who go to schools farther away, just always good to catch up with them and when we get home. So that's my number 4.
Absolutely. My number 3 is pretty much the same thing. Just I got a couple core group of friends that always have been stuck around for a few years now, and I always look forward to coming home and seeing them. So that'll definitely be my 3.
And then I'll just top it off right there. I'm gonna go with number 3. I'm gonna go with we usually when I'll be a little more specific. When I usually come back during a normal year, we all for some reason all my friends come back relatively on the same day, if not like the next day. And we go and we have a good time at somebody's house, campfire or something. So it's always good. I'm glad that I got a nice tight knit group of high school friends.
My number 3 would usually be, I don't really watch any TV or movies or like Netflix or anything like that throughout the whole year besides like football on the weekends. I don't watch anything. So just having a little bit of break when I come home and just watching some stuff here and there, honestly, is something I look forward to because, I don't really get to do that throughout the whole year with just being so busy. So that's definitely one for me.
A little chance to turn your mind off a little bit. I was gonna say my number 2 kind of goes a little hand in hand with that. I was gonna say just not having to do classwork. I just having a break from that, especially after this online semester. I definitely am ready for a break from that.
Mm-hmm. My number 2 would be going to church in my hometown, the home parish, which is great. There's church at school, obviously, but there's nothing like going to your hometown church for those Advent services and Christmas mass and stuff. So it's always good.
Yeah, my number 2 would be usually either getting to an Eagles game or going to tailgate one at least. So that's definitely my number 2. Something I look forward to getting to. So obviously haven't been able to do that this year. And yeah, so just getting to a Birds game or even just getting down and tailgating for one is definitely something that I always look forward to.
I was gonna say I don't even know if you'd want to do it this year, even if you could.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
My number 1, and this is something that's already been said, but it's home cooked meals. As much as I like being at the calf and calf sitting, it's nicer to have a home cooked meal and being able to finish it in much a faster time than I would otherwise do at the calf. So definitely look forward to coming home to those home cooked meals, and it's a different menu too. So.
You're making me feel bad, man. I totally forgot about Eagles games because we usually have season tickets, and I can't believe I didn't think of it. Probably because they're so bad this year. But yeah, I didn't even think of it. So I'll do my honorable mention is going to Eagles games with my pops or with some of my boys from home where we can tailgate. But my number 1 would be my family's big Christmas Day gathering down in Broomall, Pennsylvania. It's always a good time there. We have a big family, all Irish all Irish Catholic guys and girls and stuff. It's a great time.
Yeah, my number 1 would just be Christmas Eve with my family on my mom's side. I have a ton of little cousins and pretty big family as well. So exchanging gifts with them and, spending time with the little guys is always fun. So just being back with family and especially Christmas Eve is always good and something I definitely look forward to.
Honestly, that kind of blows my mind now. I'm really expecting something food related from you at number 1. I was, if I had to bet on it, I would have been wrong today.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could have thrown something on there, like honorable mention. I'll go, my favorite sandwich shop, which I always come home to and get something from. So a little Italian deli, but could throw that on there. But that's my that would be my honorable mention. But yeah, family's number 1.
Fair enough. But that'll do it for us here. We had a great episode. Kind of covered a little range of things today, but overall good time. And as usual, roll devs. We'll see you next week.